Alright, so today we are going to be analyzing apparently the only Kome versus Shiriki set that I can find on YouTube right now. The music I'm going to use over the audio. This tournament is from Umaburo 9, which is from January, I think like January 4th or so. It's obviously between Kome the Shulk and Shiriki the Inkling, who I would consider the best Shulk and best Inkling in the world right now. The music I'm going to use over this is by Glitchic City. It is the Route 209 Lo-Fi remix from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Go check out their channel if you haven't. They make great music and great mixes. Yeah, let's get into it. Let me turn down this because I don't actually want to hear their commentary audio. Alright. Start on Hollow Bastion. So actually, I guess real quick before we go into the game, this matchup is, I know, considered by many Inklings, and I used to consider to be hardest by many Inklings. I used to consider it to be the hardest as well for Inkling. After seeing Shiriki play Kome so many times, and I don't know why I can't find more sets of them, because they definitely played a lot in the past, but after analyzing Shiriki and Kome's sets, I've come to realize that this matchup is not nearly as bad as I was actually thinking. At least not inherently, and if played a certain way, it's actually not that bad. So for this reason, I actually don't think it's even. I kind of in my mind, I kind of thought, I was like, is this actually even a matchup? I don't think it's even. I think played optimally, it can be kind of even. And if both, because the way that I kind of learned I'll explain it as the match goes on, but basically what I started realizing was Shulk obviously dominates the neutral when Inkling is playing a more rushdown style, because Inkling is going to try to whip punishing him. So Kome will always try to just do a bunch of neutral layers and stay away from him, as far away from Inkling as possible, because Shiriki actually has a very good punish game versus Kome, and can end up getting a lot of percentage if Kome has run out of Smash or Shield art. Even with Shield, you can still get some like up tilt combos and up tilt chains that can get a lot of percent, or just straight up run the shield out of its timer. At that point, you're either forced to go into Smash or just take more damage. And Shulk's disadvantage without his arts isn't very good. So, that being said, Kome has to constantly. What I realized about this matchup is Shulk at least, is constantly in a position where he has to play this very mid-range game, and just it's very much both characters are waiting for the other to make a mistake. So it's very much a tense push and pull matchup. If one character starts messing up too much or gets a little too greedy, the other character takes full advantage, and vice versa. If Inkling gets too greedy, Shulk will just neutral air into forward air and to start trying to ledge trap Inkling, or go off stage and try to forward air. If the Shulk gets too greedy, then the Inkling will grab them and either do too much damage or send them into a chase or a tech chase situation, or just straight up off stage where they can be edge guarded as well. So it's a very push and pull matchup, and that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. But I'm going to go ahead and try to explain that as we watch the video. I'm sorry for such a long preamble. I just want to kind of explain my thoughts about this. If I had to make a joke about this matchup, I would say it's a hard even, as funny as that, like as a little joke there, the hard even kind of thing. But I think it definitely can be done. I think in the future, if we do see this matchup more often, if Shiriki and Kome do match up against each other more often, because for a while, it's like Kome matched up against every single Inkling in Japan, like against Levi, Showers. I'm pretty sure there was one tournament, I don't remember which one it was, but I think Kome beat Shirayuki and Showers and Levi, I think, all in one tournament, and somehow played against all three of them in one tournament. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And if it wasn't all three of them, it was at least two of them. So that was such a weird. I don't remember which tournament it was, but it was like a year ago. But that's besides the point. Let's just get into the game. Yep. Okay. So we start off here. We have. You can kind of see a little what I'm saying. The main thing that Shulk. What is this? No, it's HD. What am I saying? Quality kind of looks bad. That's HD. Oh no. That's a flub. Alright. Yeah, let's turn my brightness. So initially what we see about this matchup is that, you can see right here, what Kome is doing a lot right now is just kind of all out of neutral airs, right? I mean, obviously that's what Shulk wants to do, but Kome can't really overextend too much. Like, he can't just go in and start doing a bunch of aerials. He's kind of still laying back a little bit. He's looking for his opportunity in. Shiryuki is very similar right now, right? You cannot. It's very much a matchup where you have to kind of just take it slow. It's a really, really slow matchup. Played optimally, this matchup is entirely slow. It's like takes minutes, and we will see that in the game too, especially. But this game, this game is going a little faster than actually you would expect this matchup to be. You can see that Kome gets punished once, and he's up to 110 now. He's covered in ink. He has to run away, try to keep Shiryuki out, so he just keeps his going with his aerials. Loses his shield there and actually dies to the Booyah because he did not have shield and he didn't switch to Shulk, or if he didn't switch to smash fast enough. I don't actually think he could have done anything unless maybe he could try to smash DI with the smash art up, like smash DI the up air or SDI the up air. But more than likely, because he ran out of shield, right over here, right? He uses shield because Shiryuki hits him with a neutral air and then uses shield on the jab. I'm not sure why that was kind of a bad decision, but ends up getting rollered into this huge sequence where he gets a little greedy with his shield art and ends up losing it. And then Shiryuki ends up finding this grab because Kome overextends just a little bit, going for that neutral air right here. It overextends just even a little bit in this matchup, and you can get punished so hard. And we see get Shulk get Booyah, which I actually thought was entirely impossible. Or most people don't. You almost never see Shulk get Booyah in this matchup. So yeah, that I thought was really interesting. Kind of going back to neutral a little bit, Shiryuki has the stock advantage. Kome is now playing a little more aggressive since he is at a deficit, and playing against Inkling at a deficit is pretty hard, even for the most, like, even the toughest matchups, or even what Inkling seems to be the toughest matchups. Playing against Inkling at a deficit is going to be always pretty hard since they want you to approach them most of the time. But yeah, you saw there, Kome got the stock. I think this is more so just Kome is really good at getting these downers. This isn't like a matchup thing. I think honestly Shiryuki could have gone up a little faster, or just even stalled a little bit. It's a little hard to tell from this position, but like, you can kind of see stalls a little bit. I think, did Shiryuki have a jump? Let me see something. No, they didn't. So yeah, they were kind of. So I guess that was just good time from Kome. I mean, Shiryuki didn't have to like stall, but It goes back to neutral. Kome starts playing a little more aggressive, but then quickly backs off because you start to realize, well, I'm getting a little too close to Inkling. I'm getting too close to grab range. If my sword aerial misses, and if I trade, it's not entirely in my favors. I guess that nice little grab combo goes to the ledge trap. Trump doesn't really do much there. So I think offline, online, this matchup feels really a lot more annoying, I think, because it's harder to react to neutral airs and respond to them. You can kind of see here, Kome, even though Kome does a lot of neutral airs, like Shiryuki doesn't just sit in place. Like, Kome can't just blindly use sword aerials because Shiryuki can easily just like dash tag it or run in and out and then still be in Kome's face, especially with the threat of roller. Like, you can't just, and like even at this low percent, getting ink on the roller, like you still have to mash out and that can cause misinputs, so that can be definitely a bit of a problem. Sorry if I'm talking too fast, by the way. I try to slow my talking down, but especially when commentating sets, it's really hard sometimes to keep up with the action because Smash can be such a fast game. Even though, like I said, this is gonna be a slow matchup. Or optimally, this matchup should be really slow because it's a constant push and pull kind of matchup. It's not like Ganon did, where you just see stocks exploding. Like optimally, this. Oh, sorry about that. There was an ad. Anyways, so we go back to this. We see here that just back to neutral. It's still pretty even percentage-wise, which I find interesting here. I think Shiryuki especially has gotten a lot better this matchup. Sorry to pause it, but in the past, Shiryuki kind of got a little bit mopped with Kome, and spoiler, Shiryuki does lose a set and does not take a game. Like, Shiryuki gets 2-0 in this set, but the games have been much closer. I think Shiryuki is so, at least at this point in history, which was like 7 months ago, was so close. Actually, sorry, it was 5 months ago. But Shiryuki was so close to figuring this match. I think at this point, Shiriki, if they play against Komei, would probably at least take a game and might even win the set. Because even though Komei has a lot of Inkling experience, like Shiriki is just, I feel like, figuring out the matchup and making it, and if they just tighten up their play a little more, it becomes way harder. And I know, apparently, I saw a set where Cosmos beat a Shulk in the beginning of Ultimate. I don't think it's as easy as it was back then, since people weren't as good at the game. But, and this is obviously that Shulk wasn't, I don't think it was Komei. But, I do think Shiriki is very close to being, like, actually winning this matchup almost consistently. As we'll see in the next game, it was kind of rough, but so far you can see this game is pretty even, right? Even though this matchup is meant to be very hard, it can definitely be hard, and I think you could argue that Komei's playstyle is unorthodox and a little respectful, but I do think that after seeing this, it doesn't seem to me at least to be, or to me it does not seem clear that Shulk can just blindly use aerials and just disrespect Inkling, because then most sword characters can't even do that, and Shulk has the benefit of having arts, which let him stop a lot of Inkling's combos and kill potential, but he does have to be worried about edge guards here. And see, Komei's just going for ledge traps. It's a little hard to edge guard Inkling, obviously, because of Inkling's recovery. Even Shulk can have a little bit of a difficult time with it, especially because he doesn't want to get reversal. Just get the forward throw, very good from Komei. Go back to neutral, back to even percent. Komei starts off going aggressive with the speed art. This is kind of like the one time where he can be a little aggressive because speed just gives him that advantage. Whereas like most other arts, he kind of has to just play a little passive because he doesn't have, he's still like within his own frame data, but his speed gives him a little bit of an edge. And when he's in speed art, he has a little bit more of an edge. Oh, he does get the backslash. That was just kind of I feel like a flub from Shiriki, and just like a good call out from Komei, because I mean, like this is just, I don't know how you get hit by this. Komei does take a pretty good lead here, but this is certainly not something that you couldn't make up. It just kind of was unfortunate that Komei got the backslash with the smash art, and it just kills at what, 68? Yeah, it's 6% and it killed for free. So the pretty slow game, as you can notice on this 2:59 on the timer. So it was a pretty long game. I think it started 7 minutes. That's about 4 minutes for the game, which isn't terrible. It's not too slow, but you got to think of the fact that Komei kind of grimed him that stock, where you just you see he got killed them at 68, like, right? So that's a pretty grimy stock there, all things considered. So we can go to game 2 now. Go to Pokemon Stadium. I think pretty much a neutral stage for this matchup. I don't think either character really cares too much whether or not they have their platforms, but or at least in this matchup, I don't think it's too necessary. It can be useful for Inkling, and it can actually be a little annoying for Shulk since his landings can be easier to shark. But at the same time, it can be better since he makes it harder for him to get rolled sometimes. Ooh, a little stuttering there. Okay. So I think this is going to be a good opportunity to kind of talk about what you probably need to do in this matchup. Obviously, I'm not sure. You see there, Shiriki does get a good combo. And then, again, this is just what I'm saying. Like, this matchup is a very, very slow matchup. You never let your opponent, if you're playing Inkling against a Shulk, never let your opponent dictate the pace of the matchup. If you can, try to always either control it or just bring it so that neither player has a good grasp over the momentum. Because when the Shulk has the momentum, Shulk is winning the matchup. When Inkling has the momentum, I think Inkling actually does win the matchup. It's really only, like, killing is probably the hardest part of this matchup. Sorry, I gotta fix the quality. It just dipped really badly there. I do think that this matchup can definitely be hard, and it most likely is losing, if not just -2. I mean, I'm not going to say for sure, because I don't have too much experience. I'm only kind of trying to analyze the set. But I will say that this matchup ends up being very, very slow, and it's not indicative of an even matchup, but it is indicative of a matchup that can be volatile. And this matchup is truly a volatile matchup. Oh my god, I'm so sorry about the stuttering. Internet is not great right now. See, Komei really only goes in when they have access to speed, and just they really don't play aggressive otherwise, because it's just too risky. Like, Inkling will outframe data Shulk up close, even with speed, especially because like up tilt and dash tag or jab can kind of just stop Shulk even even in shield art. Shiryuki is not, it's like the main problem here is Shiryuki is having trouble getting this kill because Komei has just played so defensive because you can't just get hit by like a straight up air here, like a straight forward air. Shiryuki obviously can't rush in because if Shiryuki starts rushing in, then Shulk can maybe start like hitting Shiryuki with the swords or with his sword, and that can get a little dangerous, especially. Alright, that was another ad. I'll have to cut that out as well. Right now, this is kind of like every Inkling's worst nightmare, where the opponent lives almost 200%. I mean, we'll actually end up seeing Komei live a really, like, even longer. Oh no, the stuttering. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm gonna pause it. What the hell? See if I can put a little bit. Okay. So almost gets the stock there with forward air. 192 right now on Komei. No, okay, I'll pause it. But basically, you can kind of see that even at high percents, like Shiryuki is being wary here. Komei is actually being a little less wary because Komei knows that Shiryuki could very well be getting a little antsy for this kill. I mean, if I were Shiryuki, I probably would be too. But you always have to make sure to never get antsy for a kill when you're playing Inkling or just really any character because that can make you play a lot worse and a lot more greedy. And Komei doesn't really take advantage of that, or, like doesn't try to. Komei is kind of playing a little reckless, but they're playing reckless at this point because they know like any hit is more than likely going to kill me. Like they got lucky because they didn't die at 2 or 190, but Shigeshi doesn't back through. I think back through might have been able to kill. I don't know. But at this point, Komei's just like I can kind of just take any risk, and I'm either going to die or not die in a shield. Like I probably still won't die to most things that Inkling does in neutral. I'm just like yeah, even no shield, especially not. So I guess the back through there at 135 is really, really demoralizing in this position because your opponent is at 222% and gets hit by the wrong hit of Spot Bomb, which doesn't even send it like that far across the stage. That's really demoralizing at 241%. But again, you just got to make sure, even in this matchup, you can never let Shulk keep the momentum. Like if they're at this percent and they're just going for everything, that sucks. You know, sometimes you just got to try to play around it or play carefully. Like you see Shiryuki doesn't really get too antsy, doesn't really lose much composure there. And it's still like surprisingly an even game. But I want to point out how slow this matchup has been. This game, at least. The last game ended, I think, around 3 minutes and 7 seconds, or around 3 minutes and 7 seconds is when it ended. Yes, the last game ended, what? 2 minutes and 59 seconds. This game, game 2, the first stocks were both taken around 3 minutes. Like, that's how slow this matchup can be. Played, I wouldn't say it's playing optimally, but like playing in a way that neither player really wants to give an edge to the other, or like neither like character really wants to give an edge to the other. This matchup ends up being really slow. So this is definitely a matchup where you have to be good at being patient. Whereas, I mean, Inkling can often play very patient, and it's kind of a hallmark of the character is, you know, seemingly passive or aggression through passivity. But in this kind of matchup, you gotta be really good. Like, it's a war of attrition. And Inkling can definitely outpace Shulk, especially I think Shiryuki doesn't really take advantage of a lot of zoning tools, especially when Komei doesn't have speed. I think Komei's kind of just staying in the back a lot and like neutralizing. I think Shiryuki could definitely either use Splat Bomb a little more in neutral or just try to use some Splatter Shot just to get a little more percent, because if you're playing the war of attrition with Inkling, you might as well use your zoning tools, your long-range neutral tools. They don't have to be a risk, and especially since Shulk isn't the fastest without speed, and even though he has a lot of range, again, he's not the fastest, so he can't just catch up to you, especially since Splatter Shot does not have a lot of lag. But Shiryuki does lose his stock there. Gets the edge guard a little bit. Oh, doesn't. So Komei's actually really good at holding. Komei's always been good at holding the jump. Really hard to sometimes edge guard Komei. It's one of those players, like Spargo. It's like just really hard to edge guard them for some reason. They just know so good at recovering. Goes for a ledge shot here. Gets the nice Shiryuki. That is something that Shiryuki does a lot. Is I'm sorry again if I've been talking so fast. I'm just trying to keep up with this game and explain some things. Shiryuki does tend to do a lot of up airs, like on reaction, either out of shield or just seeing some. They have really good reaction time for that. Komei gets a nice little. Oh, that's really bad! Oh, Komei gets a nice little string there. And again, this is where like you can never let the opponent, or this matchup is so volatile. I think this is why, at least to most Inklings, it probably doesn't seem like a good matchup. And again, it's probably not. But I think this is why people detest this matchup so much, is because they just get hit once and then Shulk takes advantage for free, right? Like Shulk just starts going like forward air, neutral air, and it just seems like you can't come back from that sometimes. Especially since Shulk will then start like trying to play his own game, and like, in that point you've already lost the momentum control. Like you lost control of the momentum of the game, and you basically lost your stock. Like you most likely lost your stock, if not the game. So you have to really be patient and just try to take back control of this momentum. Shiriki does end up dying here to the 2-frame down air. So that's just kind of unlucky. Like I'm not even sure that down air hit, to be honest, but Komei did a really good job here at edge guarding. Obviously, again, had some really good edge guards as she gets the hit here on the 2-frame, it seems. So a really nice job from Komei there, gets the stock of 45. But all things considered, this game would have most likely have gone to time had Komei kind of, those last, for game 1 and 2, Komei got his stock at 68 in the first game, and I think like 40, yeah, literally what, 44 in this game, or 45. So you can see, and there was a minute and 13 seconds left on the clock at the end of it. 1 minute, 13 seconds, and 11 milliseconds. So you can see that this matchup played good by both players, is really slow. You cannot, neither player can overcome him in this matchup, and it really shows because like this matchup is just so slow. I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. I don't think it's bad for a game to be slow. I don't think it's bad for this matchup, this kind of matchup, to be that slow. Like oftentimes you see characters like Sonic go for timeouts because it's just more optimal, or it can be more optimal. Like you see players like Ken do that a lot if they have the opportunity, or if it's necessary. But even in this matchup, I don't think it's necessary. I just think that it's very difficult to come back from a lead. Or it can be very difficult for both characters to make up a lead unless the opponent starts making mistakes. So I think in that regard, this matchup is really interesting to me, at least, because I find it such a push and pull and volatile matchup that I didn't really I didn't actually understand that before I watched this. I think this set in particular is what showed me that, because it was just so back and forth, and it never felt like it was long. Like that game was almost 6 minutes long, and it didn't even feel like it, right? It did not feel long at all. It felt really fast to me, at least to me. Maybe that's just me, but I find this kind of matchup interesting. And even though I think it probably is hard for Inkling, even though it probably is still losing, I do think it's definitely doable. I think there were just some things that Shiriki just kind of got unlucky, like the splat bomb shot, or not splat bomb, or the splat bomb hit on on Komei's first stock here. If I can find it, over here. Yeah, right over here. Just got really unlucky with the way it's done. You know, happens. Splat bomb is a little inconsistent at times, so that happens. And obviously, like living to 241, but you can see here, like even at this point, Shiriki is not Shiriki is really behind, and technically is behind, and this is really demoralizing to see your opponent. It's demoralizing to see your opponent at this much percent. I apologize again if I'm speaking fast and I'm stumbling over my words. It is demoralizing to see your opponent at this kind of percent, but at the same time, you got to recognize that like even though you're down and it sucks, you aren't really down by that much. Like literally, one hit, your opponent's dead, and it's basically an even game. And then your opponent has to start playing. Like you also see here, you also see here that Komei kind of wastes the speed. Obviously, you should get this. Yeah, it gets the speed back anyways. And this is really the only time where Shulk, I think, has a clear advantage in this matchup, other than like when he has a lead, is when he has speed. It doesn't have an advantage so much as he has the capability to kind of overcome his weaknesses of approaching, because he's still he can overcome splatter shot a little bit because he's so much faster now, and he can try to dodge splat bombs as well in neutral. Whereas previously, when he's just regular Shulk, he kind of can't do that. Komei doesn't take advantage of it too much here, because you can see Shiriki kind of just still tries to keep him at bay with speed, because normally Shiriki plays a little more offensive when Shulk's on the field, but with speed, you can see that Shiriki kind of slays back a little and goes for the splat bomb, and then goes for the splatter shot, and he's basically Shiriki is trying to keep Komei at bay because they know that speed is so dangerous and can actually kind of nullify the advantage that Inkling can create because of Inkling's projectiles, and not more oppressive disjoints, but like less committal disjoints because they're projectiles, right? So you see Komei does here a kind of neutral air just to try to stop any space control from Shiriki. Like Shiriki uses the ink on the ground to try to stop speed, uses the bomb here, uses splatter shot, just like all try to negate this speed timer here. So Komei just tries to do a neutral air, just trying to get some kind of ground in this mid stage. Gets a decent amount of percent like with shield and Komei does get the reverse here, or against a little reversal here. Still has a bunch of ink though, so Kome has to be a little dangerous or a little scared. That's why Kome can't really approach at this point. Again, it's such a volatile matchup. You cannot really commit too much. I think that's basically everything I want to talk about for this matchup, at least right now. If anyone does have questions, or if you feel I talked a little too fast at points and want me to clarify what I was saying, you can just comment, or if you're in the Inkling core, you can just go to the Muscle Forge matchups and just ask me a question there. Alright, yep, I think that's basically it. So thank you for watching, if you did. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining and educational. I appreciate you watching. And yeah, if you're an Inkling player, good luck with the matchup. I hope this helped.